Hey guys, today I'm doing a video for you on how to protect yourself when buying a flipped home. What is flipping though? So flipping is where someone is going to buy a home that's in bad condition or needs repairs. They're going to repair the property. They're going to put it back on the market for sale. There's a lot of shows on HGTV with showing you all these different ways of flipping. They make it look great and glamorous and all that stuff. Nowadays, they start putting in the little surprises that happens when they're flipping a home, right? So you buy the home, you think it needs $20,000 worth of repair, but it actually needs $50,000 worth of repair. And how do you gap that? And a lot of times, a lot of investors will do a lot of short-cut stuff to stay on profit. So let's go along and explore this phenomena. So you're buying a home and you want to figure out, well, is it a flipped home or is it not a flipped home? If it's a flipped, some of the signs for you to find out if the home is a flip is if the last sale price is significantly higher than the last sale price is significantly lower than the actual price they're listing the home for, especially if it's within the last 6 months to a year. That's the first indicator. Another indicator would be if the home has been sitting for a while and it's kind of priced higher in the community than other listings, which is going to indicate that there's some work done and they're trying to get more money out of the home, or maybe they have to spend more money to fix the home to flip it, so they're trying to get more profit, right? So you could find out from the realtor, if you're dealing with a realtor, hey, is this a flip? Can you find out from the other agent? Or you could call the listing agent and ask, is this a flip? Another way to know is if the property is being held in an LLC or in an entity and not in somebody's name. More than likely, it's going to be a corporation that owns it and they're flipping it. Another way of knowing as well is if the home is vacant. Most flippers are not going to live in their home, so the home would be vacant. So if the home looks completely renovated and it's vacant, more than likely it may be a flip. Now, why is this important? Why do I need to know if it's a flip or not? It's important because a lot of times when there's a flip going on, they do a lot of shortcuts because they're not living there and they don't care. They just want to make it look pretty to sell it. So you have to be extra cautious before you go on the contract with these properties. And while on the contract, during your due diligence or your inspection period, make sure you're telling the inspector, hey, I think this may be a flip, so we may want to look for additional stuff that would not exist in a regular sale. Stuff like additions, or maybe they added a room or took a room out, or maybe they took out some wall and columns, or whatever it is they do. We want to look out for that stuff. So the first thing that you need to pay attention to is the electrical. The electrical is going to be super important because a lot of times if they make additions or they move outlets and all that stuff, we want to make sure that this is on the up and up. So one of the things they may want to do is contact your building department with that address to see what permits were pulled over the last few months, right? Because if they're doing a flip, it's going to be within a few month period, and they're going to have to pull permit like electrical, plumbing, HVAC, roof, whatever it is that they're doing. So if they're saying that those things are new, or if they're saying they rewired the home with new electrical, or they replumbed the home with new plumbing, then there should be a permit. You want to make sure it's permitted and it was done correctly. Because if it's not, and a few years down the line, you're selling the home, and that buyer realizes you don't have a permit for all the stuff that was done a few years prior, it's going to be on you, and you cannot go back to the seller that sold it to you. This happened a lot in New York. Back in New York, way back in the early 2000s, 2001, 2002, 2003, early part of that, a lot of people were selling their homes and they were finishing the basement without getting it permitted. And people were just buying the houses, and the building department wasn't paying attention to that at all. All of a sudden, a few years ago, the building department started taking notice to homes that are being sold with finished basements, and they're looking to see if it's in the record of being finished. And if they don't have it on their record that it was finished and that somebody applied for a permit and finished it and it was signed off on and they had a CFO for the basement, then they give the homeowner a hard time. And the homeowner could not go back to the previous seller and say, hey, you sold me the home and it was a finished basement. No, the building department is saying it's not finished because you own the home. So this is the same thing with the flip, guys. Same idea behind the flip. So the second thing to look out for, we talk about electrical. The second thing is going to be if there's painted cabinets or vanities that are peeling. So it's okay to refinish your cabinets and your vanities, but if it's peeling and you didn't even buy the house yet, that's a big indicator that it wasn't done correctly. And you don't want to buy the property and be thinking you have all refinished cabinets and then it start to peel on you in no time, because then you're going to have to refinish it, right? So you got to look out for that. Another thing to look out for is cabinets configuration. Does the cabinets configuration match with each other, or did they do an extension? And it's okay if the extension was done, but was it done correctly? And did we need a permit for that? And do we have a CFO for it? That's super important. Another thing is air conditioning. Sometimes in a home that needs to be repaired, they might go out and they might put a new air conditioning unit. You want to make sure that that unit is big enough to fully cool that home down, especially if you're in Florida or in a hot state. That's important. You also want to make sure a permit was pulled to install the new unit. You want to know if both units were switched out or were changed, the inside and outside unit. If it was only the outside unit, does the outside unit, or if it was only one unit, not both, does the two of them work together well long term? Because sometimes if you change your outside unit, it may not work well with that inside unit, and after a little, it might work for a little bit, then it's gone. And trust me, I know a lot about air conditioning. So you want to make sure that if the air conditioning was changed, both were changed, and if they were not both changed, are they conducive to work together? Also, another big thing, if there was an addition made to the home, maybe they buy the home and it was a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, and they wanted to add an additional bathroom, is the air conditioner sufficient to cover the extended or the extension that they make? And if they extended the home, is the air conditioning unit or the heating unit that's in the home right now, is it sufficient to cover the part that they extended? That's another thing. We kind of touched on plumbing a little bit. Plumbing is super important. If they replumbed the home, you want to make sure there's permit there supporting that. If they had additional plumbing, you want to make sure that was done correctly. When it comes to plumbing, most of the time, for any addition, you're going to need a licensed plumber. Was a licensed plumber used? How are we going to find this information out? We could check with the building department. We could ask the agent if they could find out from the owner. You need to see disclosures. You need to see permits. You need to see that they got a CFO when it was done. So all this stuff is things you need to know up front going in. Another thing is sometimes there's stains in the ceiling and they paint over the stains but not necessarily fix the leak. That has happened. So if there's any kind of stain, any kind of discoloration of the color of the ceiling, you want to find out why. Is it from the previous owner? If it's from the current owner, did they have a leak? Is the leak fixed? Where would that leak be coming from? So if sometime could figure out if the leak is there, you go above. If there's a second floor, that's great. Then you could go upstairs and see if there's a bathroom or anything with piping around that area in the ceiling. That's going to be super important. Another thing is checking that you have adequate ventilations. So if they added a new bathroom or a new addition, does that area have enough ventilation and insulation? So both. Need to have adequate ventilation and also adequate insulation as well. What about the exterior? Is there any exterior repairs? Have you seen anything on the exterior that looks kind of crazy? Maybe they had a porch and they rebuilt the porch. Is the porch built to the building regulation of today, right? Is it up to, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm skipping out this word. Oh my God, I can't. Is it up to, my God, I can't get the word. Anyway. Is it configured to what the building department is looking for today? Because let me tell you something. If the home was built 10, 15 years ago and they had a whole different rule about a patio or a deck, and you took the patio and deck off that was on there, and now you're going to rebuild it, you have to build to code. That's the word. Is it up to code? I can't believe I couldn't remember that word. But that's the way you want it. You want to know if it's up to code. So if anything outside was rebuilt, is it up to code? If they changed the roof, did they get a permit to change the roof? Is there a CFO on the roof? Anything, any addition, if they added anything to the property, to the home, maybe they built out another room or another bathroom or whatever it is they build out. What about the footing for the additional area that was builded on, is it up to code? Is it permitted? Did they just build it on just to build it on? Do we have paperwork to show it was done up to code? Okay. If they remove any walls or column, because people love to knock things down, like, let's just knock this wall out and make this room bigger. Make sure that the wall that was knocked out wasn't a low bearing wall. If it is, that's going to mess with your foundation big time. Make sure that any columns that was taken out wasn't part of the low bearing or part of the structure that keep the home together, because that's going to mess with your foundation. So if any of those configuration was taking place, make sure it was permitted, make sure there's a CFO on it, make sure it's up to code. Super important. Additions are one of the ways that flippers like to do additions so they could get more square footage or more, more under air square footage. But we want to make sure it's up to par. We want to make sure it's up to code. We want to make sure it was done correctly. That way, when you buy the home, you don't have any issues. And if you're looking to sell the home, you have no issues. So buying a flip home is not a bad idea, guys. You can get a great deal with it, but you have to do your own work. You have to make sure you know what work exactly was done. How was it done? Was it permitted? Is it up to code? Do they have a CFO? Do they have disclosures? Look at your seller's disclosures. If you're going to buy it, they're going to give you a disclosure. A lot of times investors don't like to fill those disclosures out. They're going to say stuff like, we never lived in the home, so we don't see why we should do a disclosure, which is fine. But that's when you're going to need a really great inspector. So when they do the inspection of the property, make sure everything is done. Because sometimes the flippers, once again, they might go over budget and start to cut corners. And you don't want to be the expense of the corners that was cut. Want to make sure your plumbing is up to par, your electrical, your HVAC, your furnace, your heater, everything is up to par. If they put in a new stove, make sure the stove is configured to what was supposed to be there, right? Maybe they had a stove that had a certain voltage in the wall and they switch into a higher voltage but never switch the electrical going to that stove. That's going to be a problem. It's going to short your electrical out. Same thing with your washer and your dryer. Maybe there's a 110 washer that was there and they switch it to a 220, but they never change it into a 220 outlet and change the line to run to a 220, back to the 220 in the breaker box. These are things that you have to find out. These are super, super important. So when you walk in the home, they're always going to make it look pretty. It's going to look pretty, beautiful, oh my gosh. But we need to get into the bones of the home to find out exactly what was done, what was disturbed, how was it fixed, is there any other work left that they didn't do that you're going to have to take on, right? Super important. So I don't like to make the videos too long. I hope you get some pointers from this. If you want to discuss this further, you could call us. Somewhere here should be the phone number. Send us a text. We'd love to discuss this with you. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you on the next video.